You're listening to The Stephen Tauriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Stephen Tauriello Show. And now, here's Stephen.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. So just an update on a story I did yesterday on yesterday's episode about the Obama's personal chef drowning about 100 feet off the shoreline in Martha's Vineyard in their massive 8-bedroom mansion that takes up, I don't know how much electricity to cool that place down or heat it up. I mean, could you imagine the electric bill for that place? So much for the climate change initiative there for the Obamas, huh? But I digress. So it was weird, the story yesterday, which is why I talked about it on the show, because apparently another paddleboarder, a bystander, seen him struggling on the surface, and then that was it. He drowned after that. Well, now the plot thickens. The internet has pulled up a 2019 video of him taking swimming lessons. So, I don't know. First of all, I don't even know how you find a video of some guy taking swimming lessons back in 2019. I think it's just incredible. The internet is an amazing thing, and it's also a curse. It is most definitely a double-edged sword. I mean, you could probably blame a lot of the crazy wackiness that's happening in our culture and our society today on the internet, without a doubt, specifically social media. But being able to pull up a video like this is incredible. So, like I said, the plot definitely thickens. This is pretty weird. I would expect something like this from the Clintons, but the Obamas, this is new. Anyways, I just want to pray for his family, and I'm gonna keep you updated on this story. It's certainly pretty weird. Obviously, I don't think it's any kind of, I don't think it's any malfeasance or mischief. I don't think it's a homicide or anything. I think the guy was probably paddleboarding. Something happened, like maybe, who knows, maybe he had a stroke or a heart attack out there on the paddleboard and something like that. And I don't know. And then he just drowned. It was 8 feet of water, so you can drown in 8 feet of water. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely weird, but I'm going to keep you updated. I just wanted to fill you in on that right out the gate. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. It is going to be a good show. Plenty of stuff to talk about. I left a lot on the table on yesterday's episode that we didn't talk about. And honestly, I don't even have enough time to go back and talk about a lot of the stuff I set aside to talk about because there's just more stuff that has came out. So first things first, the McCarthy video of him floating around the idea of impeachment of Joe Biden. This is crazy. This is some pretty serious stuff. And it should be. Unlike the Democrats, I think Republicans and conservatives really loathe the impeachment process. Because to me personally, I think it should be used in the most extreme circumstances. Like this. Like we see like a president like Joe Biden. He's just corrupt, man. He's just a really, really corrupt president. And whether he was involved in his son's business deals or not, I mean, when you got SAR reports that are showing million-dollar transactions happening, with LLCs with your name on them as your vice president, and you got millions of dollars being funneled through all these shell companies and being dispersed throughout the family, that's one thing. But then when you got whistleblowers from the IRS saying that they were trying to look into this corruption and they were being obstructed, and then you have the FBI whistleblowers coming out and essentially saying like, yeah, the FBI's corrupt. So the FBI supposedly had this FD 1023 form for years. They had the laptop for years and nothing was being done about it. So, I mean, the whole thing, I mean, the criminal activity is bad enough, but the cover-up is way worse. I mean, because you have just like I said in the previous episode, you have a whole of government effort trying to circle the wagons of Joe Biden, trying to cover for the Biden family. It is truly bizarre behavior. I mean, these people are damaging the trust and integrity of all of our government institutions, the IRS, the FBI, the DOJ, and the list goes on. They're willing to destroy all the integrity and trust into these institutions, taxpayer-funded institutions, to protect Joe Biden. Something doesn't seem right. It's why? Why? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I could see if, the guy was their golden calf, and they certainly treat him that way. And that's only because he's the one that gives them their power. Trust me, when a Gavin Newsom comes in or a Michelle Obama comes in, they're going to drop Biden like a hot date. So like I said, I think Republicans and conservatives really loathe the impeachment process. Democrats completely watered down the meaning of impeachment with the bogus partisan impeachments that they weaponized against the previous president, against Donald Trump, to try and overthrow him and kick him out of the White House. They tried to unseat a duly elected president. So much for democracy, huh? So McCarthy came out and he said this.
Biden's, okay? This was given to the FBI. When Bill Barr finally found out about it, he sent it to his office in Philadelphia. They actually said that this was very credible. The FBI kept this from the IRS individuals for them ever to see it. So not only do they claim that they were bribed, we now find information that 16 out of 17 payments from Romania were provided to the Biden shell companies while he was vice president. When President Biden was running for office, he told the American public that he's never talked about business. He said his family has never received $1 from China, which we now proved is not true. We now have some of the most credible whistleblowers. These 10-year IRS agents who have come forward said that the Biden family has been treated differently, that what Weiss has told us is different than what Garland and Weiss has told the public. And you're sitting here today where now you have found millions of foreign money, just what the 1023 alleges they did to Biden's family. Now we found that it has funneled through shell companies. If you're sitting in our position today, we would know none of this if Republicans had not taken the majority.
Yep.
We've only followed where the information has taken us. But Hannity, this is rising to the level of impeachment inquiry, which provides Congress the strongest power to get the rest of the knowledge and information needed. Because this president has also used something we have not seen since Richard Nixon, used the weaponization of government to benefit his family and deny Congress the ability to have the oversight.
Yeah. A few wild statements in that audio. Number one, the very first thing that I noticed was the number 17. Remember when they said that there's 17 audio recordings? I mean, could this guy, and they were using the audio recordings as, well, he said he was using the audio recordings as leverage, as insurance, as an insurance policy, in case the Bidens came after him. So I don't know, maybe a complete coincidence. Could this guy have recorded every single time he made a payment to the Bidens? And that's why you have 17 payments and 17 audio clips? I don't know. Just a coincidence. That was just something that I noticed just now. Also, something else that he said was, we wouldn't know about any of this if Republicans didn't take over the House in 2022. Is that not mind-blowing? That is so shocking to me that we would have this level of corruption for this long running through our government, and nobody was going to do anything about it. And the Democrats still don't want to do anything about it. They would love nothing more than to brush this under the rug. This is wild to me. And what's even crazier when you really think about it, this is just one corrupt politician that's been there for 50 years. Think about all the other politicians that have been there. Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff. Think of all these politicians that have done corrupt stuff, and we have no idea about it. And the only reason we know about this is because this idiot left his laptop in a computer repair shop. So this is what's shocking to me, is if these guys, if the Republicans did not win in 2022, we wouldn't know any of this. That, to me, is wild. And it just goes to show, if we know this much about Joe Biden in just 6 months, because his idiot son left a laptop in a computer repair shop? What about all the other politicians and their sons and their daughters and their family members that didn't leave their laptop in a computer repair shop? Think of all of the corruption that is flowing through our government. This is what's important to me. I could care less about Joe Biden. I could care less about his son. I care about our politics being corrupted. As we're sitting on the outside as American citizens that vote for these people, we hire these people to run the country for us in our name with our best interest. And they're in there skimming money off the top of government contracts and all this other corrupt stuff that they're doing. I mean, the list goes on of different ways that these people could be making money. Insider trading, like Nancy Pelosi and her husband. None of these Congress people should be having any stocks. They should not be able to trade stocks in the stock market. I'm sorry. That needs to be a rule from day one. Because why? How is that possible? And first of all, how is that not insider trading? These people know about corporations and bills coming down the tube before anybody else does. They can literally make or break a corporation. Like I've been saying, they can deregulate a corporation by stuffing something in an omnibus bill, and then that corporation takes off. Or they can do the opposite. They can hedge a stock and then regulate it to death. That is a first rule of order. That is a no-brainer. That is common sense. None of these people should be able to invest in stocks. I know it's complicated and it would be complex to enforce because, they have family members and they have, it would be the nepotism. You'd have to deal with all the nepotism and staffers and employees. I get it. It would be complex, but we at least have to try. I mean, I think if you put the rule in there, I think that would disincentivize a lot of Congress people from doing it. And then the people that do it, they should be treated as it should be treated as a crime. They should be impeached for it. So that's the first thing. I mean, the level of corruption in our government is without a doubt the most we have ever seen in this country before. Hands down. And I think that's the biggest problem in this country, is the level of corruption in our politics. We all know politics is corrupt. We all know our government's corrupt. We all know our politicians are corrupt. We always have. I mean, but now I think people are really starting to pay attention because, our country's going down the gutter. And these people are just living the high life. They only work like 150 days out of the year. I mean, they're getting ready to go on some massive vacation for like a month. They get a whole month off, like a summer break, like they're freaking in kindergarten, while we're all busting our ass at work. I mean, it's not really that hard of a job. And these people make a crap ton of money. Most of them come out of politics, millionaires, multimillionaires. That's what I want to stop. We need to stop incentivizing these politicians from making money. Because money is the root of all evil. We all know this. So if we could figure out a way to disincentivize politicians making money to just going in there and just doing the best that they can, providing society, contributing what they have to better our country. That's what they should be there for. Also to speak on our behalf. If they have ideas for a bill, that's great. If it's going to make our country better, that's great. But also, their main objective is to speak for us, to speak for their constituents. That's why they're there. That's why we vote for them. They work for us. So for them to go in there and their main objective is to A, get reelected so they never have to leave, and B, make as much money as they can before they have to leave, that doesn't leave much room for us, does it? And so to me, it's shocking that we wouldn't know any of this if they didn't win in 2022. And what's even more shocking is Democrats don't want to know. They still want to just brush this under the rug. And they have no problem doing it either. If they could, they would. And they're certainly trying. It's just wild to me that Democrats have no problem with the level of corruption in the Biden family. And so I agree. I agree. I think impeachment inquiries is the way to go because I think it's really going to, and I don't like it. I think it's bad for the country. I really do. Unlike Democrats who used impeachment like a weapon to unseat a duly elected president, so much for democracy, huh? The defenders of democracy. I actually loathe the impeachment process. I think it's very bad for our country. Any country, it's bad. But I think it's very divisive. I think it's very showful. And really, most of the time, you're probably not going to get a conviction. I don't think there's no way. If Democrats are willing to just brush all this corruption under the rug, do you think the Senate's actually going to vote to convict Joe Biden? No, absolutely not. And so the impeachment clause in the Constitution is actually pretty wide open. It's pretty short. I mean, it's not the shortest, but it's pretty short. So the impeachment clause refers to a provision in the United States Constitution that outlines the process of impeaching and removing certain federal officials from their positions. The president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. It's the bribery. That is what Joe Biden's looking at. I mean, it's clear as day. You actually have a FBI form that says he was bribing Ukrainian officials. So, I mean, there's no doubt that there needs to be at least the impeachment, at least the process needs to be started so that we can find more out, so that we can start to uncover a lot more of this stuff. Because once you get an impeachment process going, then it kind of opens the doors to a lot of stuff. So I kind of want to just real briefly go through the process. The impeachment process is a formal accusation of misconduct against a federal official. It starts in the House of Representatives, where articles of impeachment are drafted and voted upon by the members. If a simple majority of the House votes in favor of impeachment, the official is impeached. So after impeachment, a trial is conducted in the Senate to determine whether the official should be removed from office. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presides over the trial. A 2/3 majority vote in the Senate is required to convict and remove the official from office. The Constitution specifies the grounds for impeachment as treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. While treason and bribery are well-defined offenses, the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors is open to interpretation and has been the subject of debate throughout U.S. history. If an official is convicted after the impeachment trial, they are removed from office, and the Senate may also vote to disqualify them from holding any future federal office. That's what the Democrats were trying to do to Donald Trump. You know, in both impeachments of Donald Trump, he was acquitted. So they weren't able to remove him from the ballot. They weren't able to remove him from the White House. But look how much damage it caused to our country. And nobody even really knows why. I mean, they want to sit there and say, oh, Donald Trump's twice impeached, but you ask them and they probably have no idea why he was impeached. One was for that Ukraine phone call where he was asking about this exact topic we're talking about, the corruption with the Biden family, and what the Democrats do. Oh, Donald Trump is using the powers of his office to interfere in an election. He's using his powers as president to go after his opponent. Exactly what Joe Biden is doing right now. This is why the Democrats are so awful, man. They are the epitome of hypocrisy. It's not even hypocrisy, it's hierarchy. They do whatever the hell they want. If that means they got to abandon their principles, if they got to abandon whatever standards or constitutional norms, they'll do it. They don't care. They do not care. They watered down the impeachment process. And this is what they do with everything. They do it with racism. They do it with misogyny. They do it with bigotry. Every single thing that they weaponize against Republicans for partisan reasons, it waters it down. Unfortunately, the word racism or racist was a extremely bad thing to be called. Like, no one wants to be called a racist. And so Democrats knew that, and so that's what they would use against their political opponents. Everything was racist, and everybody was racist. If you didn't agree with them, you were a racist. And so now they just watered down the word. They took away the meaning. And what sucks is there's actually real racists out there that deserve to be called racist. But because Democrats called everybody they didn't agree with a racist, it kind of waters it down. And that goes for impeachment as well. They used impeachment as a tool to bludgeon their political opponents. They are the ones that started all this mess. They're the ones that started all this madness from day one. When Donald Trump won the election, they could have just said, well, better luck next time. But they didn't do that, did they? No. They had to go off the frickin' crazy train and bring this country down to the 7th level of hell. And they've been doing it ever since. They haven't stopped. This is the problem I have. They have no end game. What is the end game? I see no end here. All I see is destroy, destroy, destroy. Like, that's their goal. Their goal is to destroy this place so that they can rebuild it in their own image. They want to rebuild from the ashes their own perfect utopia. They hate capitalism. They hate this country. They hate the Constitution. They hate this country. They hate everything about this country. They always have. For all the way back to the Civil War, when the Democrats fought in the South to keep slavery. They wanted to secede from the United States. The Democrats are the party of racism. They are the party of the Confederacy. And the Republicans are the party of Lincoln that fought to abolish slavery. But somehow, just like I always tell my listeners how good Democrats are at weaponizing the language, they own the language. They are so good at it that sometime in this long 150 years or whatever it was from the Civil War, they managed to flip it to where now the Republicans are the racists. A lot of people don't know this. I'm serious. When I talk to a lot of, they never connect the dots. That the Democrat Party was the party of the Confederacy, fighting to keep slavery. The South, they were the party of the South, the Dixie Democrats. And then they say, oh, there was this big switch. That's a myth. There was no big switch. That's all a load of bullshit. There was no big switch. Yes, maybe a couple went to the Republican Party, but not all the racists from the Democrat Party went to the Republican Party. So there was no big switch. I'm sorry. And then every single major event in our country's history, the Democrats have been on the side of race. Filibustering the civil rights movement, the segregation. Joe Biden himself was a part of the segregationists. His role model was Robert Byrd. Which brings me to this piece right here. You guys remember when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were on the debate stage, and Kamala Harris said this, right?
I do not believe you are a racist, but I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America.
And I happen to think that the one way to ensure that you set the civil rights movement in America further back is to continue to push busing, because it's a bankrupt policy.
So, again, we're all supposed to just forget about that Joe Biden said he doesn't want his kids growing up in a jungle or whatever it is that he said. He was anti-busing, and then he's so good. I mean, he is so good at being a liar that he just has manipulated his way to the presidency. Trust me, with a lot of help from the media. In fact, all the help. Joe Biden was not making it to the White House without the media bailing water for this guy. There's no way. Because, I mean, look at it now. Look at the poll numbers. Look at his polls. Now that people see who Joe Biden really is and who he isn't, they don't like him. They don't want him. 70% of Democrats don't even want him to run anymore. Granted, a lot of that's because of his age and his senility and his cognitive ability, but some of it is just because he's an awful president. I say this all the time because I cannot say it enough. And so the impeachment process is definitely, it's definitely going to happen. I think they're going to do it. So we're going to find out. I don't know. Like I said, I don't agree with it because it really puts the country through turmoil. But then you have to realize, like, this administration is weaponizing the Department of Justice against his political opponent, Donald Trump. So why should we allow this guy to break all these rules, break all these constitutional norms, literally target his enemies using the powers of the presidency, and we're just going to let this guy run for president again? Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I mean, seriously. So again, I don't know what he's going to do. Like I said in the previous episode, I have no idea how he's going to continue running as president. There's no way he can do this for another year and a half. There's no way. There's just no way. There's too much, especially if the impeachment process starts and then they start bringing out all this evidence and they start bringing up witnesses and testimony and IRS whistleblowers. It's over. It's over. I don't know if he's going to get convicted. I have no idea. But at least the record will be set that Joe Biden is the most corrupt president we've ever had in this country's history. Ever. There's no doubt about it. Could there have been a more corrupt one? Yeah. But we didn't see it. So this is all out in the open. I love how I see people on Twitter say, what evidence? These people are not serious people. Okay? These are the same people that were lying all through the Russia collusion hoax. These are the same people now that are lying all through all the Trump indictments. That's what they do. They don't live in a reality. They live in a giant echo chamber where all they listen to is the talking points from CNN and MSNBC and whatever alternative media outlets they listen to. But they only listen to things that confirm their bias. That is it. Whatever makes them feel good. It's Trump porn. That is what it is. It's literally Trump porn. They get gratification off seeing Trump suffer. That I don't know why. I don't know what this crazy phenomenon is. It is extremely bizarre behavior that we've never experienced in this country before. I want to get to the bottom of it. I just don't know where to start. I guess I would have to find a psychiatrist or psychologist. But as far as Trump derangement syndrome being in the actual MDS book, I think that's what it's called, or the DSM. But they're actually considering putting Trump derangement syndrome in that book. And that book is essentially it's medical terminology for mental disorders. That's what that book is. And so they're really considering putting Trump derangement syndrome in there. And they should. I think it's a real thing. I think Trump derangement syndrome is real. It is serious. And it makes people act irrationally. It makes people act on emotion. When they hear Donald Trump, if it has anything to do with Donald Trump, they lose all reason and rationale. It goes out the window. And this is why we see such a divided country right now. I mean, that is one of many things. But you have to understand it's because of the Trump derangement syndrome that snowballed into all these bigger problems. You know, when Donald Trump says build a wall, they want to do the opposite. So therefore, we have no wall and we have open borders. So again, like I said, it's extremely damaging. And so same thing with the rule of law. There's no other time would this be allowed by the American consensus, the weaponization of our justice system like this. This is clear, obvious, in-your-face corruption and weaponization of the justice system, but it's okay because it's against Donald Trump. And this is how they feel. They are willing to abandon all norms. They are willing to abandon all reason and rationale in the name of getting Donald Trump. It's truly bizarre behavior. We've never seen anything like it. And so we certainly have an issue with that. So there's some other things I wanted to get into. This was something I found. It kind of piggybacks off of the corruption subject. So Hunter Biden's art buyer is a Democrat mega donor who received prestigious appointment from the president. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not saying this is corrupt. I'm sure, this is kind of the pay for play kind of stuff that happens in our politics, but this is the kind of stuff that has to stop. So at least one buyer involved in Hunter Biden's $1.3 million art sale is a wealthy Democratic donor who was appointed to a prestigious commission by President Biden, according to a report from Business Insider. President Biden has repeatedly pointed to Hunter's art career as an example of his commitment to keeping his family's interests separate from his White House duties. I'm so sick of this whole denial, this denialism that Joe Biden had nothing to do with his son's business deals. It is so stupid to think that. The mental gymnastics it takes to actually believe that is astounding. You got to be a world-class gold medalist in ignorance to believe that Joe Biden has nothing to do with any of these business deals that we're learning about. It's just ridiculous. And then this guy selling art paintings. I knew when they first announced him selling, this was like in the very beginning of the administration. Hunter Biden selling blow paint art that looks like it was done by a 6-year-old. And he was selling them for like $500,000 or something ridiculous. So in 2021, a New York art gallery displayed the first son's art with asking prices as high as $500,000. The White House stated that Hunter's team had carefully vetted the buyers whose identities were only known to the gallery and not to Hunter Biden himself. Quote, the messaging seemed to suggest that Hunter Biden's art patrons came from a rarefied universe of collectors who had nothing to do with the hurly-burly of politics, Business Insider reported. It turns out that Hunter Biden did know the identity of at least 2 buyers. Quote, 3 people directly familiar with Hunter Biden's own account of his art career told the outlet. One buyer has been revealed as Elizabeth Hirsch Naftali, a Los Angeles real estate investor and philanthropist. Naftali is an active donor in California Democratic circles who has donated $13,414 to the Biden campaign and $29,700 to the Democratic National Campaign Committee just this year in 2022. She hosted a fundraiser for Vice President Kamala Harris. In July of last year, 8 months after Hunter Biden's first art gallery, President Biden announced Naftali's appointment to the Commission for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad. So she got an appointment. I don't know, is that what the money was for? This is how these people operate. This is so disgusting, man. You know, and these people always want to point to the Trumps. It's like, okay, all right, you want to say that Donald Trump and the Trump family did the same thing? Okay, but were they not investigated? Did they not have a special counsel and like 6 or 7 congressional investigations and testimonies? Did what's-his-name, Trump Jr., have to go in and do like 8 hours of testimony? So that's all people are wanting. If Donald Trump did the same thing, okay, but he was investigated for it. So that is all the American people expect. The same standard. Investigate the Bidens for it. This is what you do. What they don't want investigations into Biden, just Trump. It's truly bizarre behavior. It really is. They, like I said, they do not care. They lose all rationale. Every time some corruption scandal of the Bidens come up, they say that Donald Trump did the same thing. Well, if that's true, then they were investigated for it. Were they not? The guy is the most investigated person on the face of the planet. I assure you, if there was something he did by now, they would have found it. They leaked his damn tax records, for God's sakes. They got a judge to hand over all his tax records. You guys remember that? 4 years of nothing but bullshit about Donald Trump's taxes, his taxes. They finally get his taxes 4 years later, and there's nothing. All these lies, all this manipulation, all these narratives that were pushed out about Donald Trump and his stupid taxes, and there was nothing. The guy overpaid on his taxes, and then they shut up. They just shut up about it. It just disappears. No apology, no nothing. Oh, sorry, we manipulated millions of people saying that Donald Trump was a tax cheat for 4 years. Nothing. None of that. Just move on to the next stupid narrative. This is what we've been witnessing now for 8 years, and they wonder why this country's so divided. Like I've been saying this for years. All Democrats had to do was, after Donald Trump won, just say, better luck next time. That is it. And just deal with the cheap gas. Deal with the cheap groceries. Deal with the peace breaking out around the world. Just deal with it. Is it really that hard to deal with all that stuff? I mean, they act like they lived in misery during the Trump administration. The Trump administration gave this country the best years it's seen in decades. And they act like it was some kind of torture. Maybe torture for them. But honestly, all Democrats had to do was just nothing. Just move on to the 2020 election. That is it. But no, they had to bring this country down to its freaking knees, all because they wanted to overthrow Donald Trump out of the White House because they thought he was an illegitimate president. And so, it's the Democrats have nobody to blame but themselves for all this craziness that they're seeing. When Joe Biden's being impeached, then the Democrats can look at themselves. They can thank themselves for that because they started this type of environment. They started this insanity. They're the ones that watered down the impeachment process when they went after one guy with two separate impeachments, completely partisan impeachments. There was nothing wrong with that phone call. And the other one was January 6th. We all know that was a load of crap. But they rushed an impeachment through in 6 weeks? In a month? 2 months? They used it as a weapon. But now, in Joe Biden's case, they're going to see what a real impeachment is supposed to be like. So they can only blame themselves for all of this madness that they've created. All Republicans wanted to do was get the guy that they elected inside the White House and sit back and enjoy the prosperity. That is it. They were perfectly okay with Donald Trump being president. They didn't lose their freaking minds. Get the guy that they elected into office and move on with their lives. That is it. They didn't ask for all this insanity that the Democrats brought onto this country. They didn't ask for a Russia collusion hoax. They didn't ask for all the targeting and congressional investigations into Donald Trump. They just wanted to get on with their lives. But Democrats couldn't have that. They had to bring this country down to its freaking knees over Donald Trump. And all of it was just lies. They are the reasons why this country is the way that it is right now. And so they get Joe Biden in here, and I knew the guy was corrupt. I knew who the guy was. Hell, some of them knew who the guy was. But they were so obsessed with Donald Trump. They were so emotionally and psychologically broken. They didn't care as long as it wasn't Donald Trump. You guys remember it. It's better than Donald Trump. It's better than Donald Trump. No, it's not better than Donald Trump. Stop lying to yourself. This is not better than Donald Trump. I don't know who you're trying to fool. I don't hear anyone saying that anymore because it's not. It's just it's a stupid talking point that the media got you to say. You got fooled. You got duped, man. Joe Biden is an awful president. He's an awful person, and he's not a smart person. You got duped on so many different levels. And now they're upset about it. So it's like, look, man, you can't blame anybody but yourself. It's the same thing for the abortion stuff, the Roe v. Wade. Democrats had safe, legal, but rare. And then they had to push it and push it and push it and push it. Then they wanted, they went from safe, legal, but rare to 9 months at whatever time for whatever reason. They just take things too far all the time because they're progressives. They're revolutionists. That's what revolutionaries do. I get it. But they always take things too far, and then it comes to bite them in the ass. And this is the same thing. They created this hostile political environment. They're the ones that tried to criminalize politics. And so now they're surprised that Joe Biden's being impeached when you just impeached a duly elected president for nothing. Not once, but twice. That doesn't even make sense. It's never happened before. And then they point the finger at the other side and say they're breaking constitutional norms. It's like, what? You guys are nuts. These people are insane. They are nuts. They have lost their minds. So anyways, and so now you have stuff like this. I'm telling you, if it wasn't... Hunter Biden has caused this guy a lot of problems. And if I'm not mistaken, I remember reading somewhere where the Obama staff was telling Barack Obama that Joe Biden's son was going to cause a lot of problems for Obama. I remember reading that somewhere. I can't remember where, but I do remember reading it. I was trying to find the article, but I couldn't find it. I'm going to look some more tonight, well, after the show, and I'll find it. So again, a whole lot of stuff has happened. The Jack Smith, I just found out, has already spent $9.5 million in 4 months for this Trump indictment stuff. in various different things, in personal security. He's got 60 prosecutors on the Donald Trump indictment. 60 prosecutors. And they wanted to try this case in 6 months. These people are insane. So they go to the judge, oh, well, you know what, they need to get ready. We want to try this in 6 months. What? You got 60 prosecutors. Who's Donald Trump got? 2? And then they want to try and rush this through. I'm telling you, folks, this is not justice. This is not. This is the justice system being used as a weapon to bludgeon and kneecap Donald Trump, to interfere in an election. That is what this is. Nothing more, nothing less. And Democrats don't even try to hide it anymore. They come straight out and say it. Yes, I want the DOJ to target Donald Trump so he doesn't end up in the White House. That is called influencing an election, trying to alter an election by weaponization of the federal justice system. That is what that is. They don't even try to hide it anymore. They come right out and say it. And so I just thought people would want to know that you're paying for the destruction of your own democracy. Your own democracy. So you are paying, the American taxpayers are paying for the destruction of their own democracy and their own elections. How is that possible? How is this allowed to go on like this? So me, as a taxpayer, I'm paying Jack Smith and the 60 prosecutors to destroy and influence in my elections? Is this not insanity? These people have brought this country to La La Land. We are down the frickin' Alice in Wonderland, man. We are not in Kansas anymore. So I find that kind of stuff when you put it that way. That's what I was thinking about today. When I heard that this guy has already spent $9.5 million on personal security and 60 prosecutors, that's a whole damn law firm, folks. They got a whole damn law firm indicting Donald Trump, and he's got 2. And they wanted to try this case in 6 months? And he spent $9.5 million already? We are paying, as taxpayers, we are paying for our own destruction of our democracy. How does that sound? It is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. So, moving on, we're going to try and crank these out one at a time. I only got a little time left. How do you feel about this type of an economy? So, Bidenomics spends up to $7 million to create each $50,000 green job, a new study finds. So despite the claims of Bidenomics acolytes that it will, quote, rebuild the middle class, a new study states that the hundreds of billions in federal subsidies for electric vehicle production are wasteful corporate giveaways to the tune of up to $7 million per job created.
Not a joke. I sincerely, it really has. Not a joke. I'm not joking. I mean, literally, listen to the scientists. Not a joke.
Taxpayers are going to forgo tens of billions of dollars that are going to be given to some of the biggest corporations in America to build specialty vehicles that consumers don't seem to want. Robert Bryce, energy expert and author, told the Epoch Times, quote, "This is another part of what is just a massive miscalculation by policymakers in Washington to try and force automakers and consumers to use electric vehicles, a technology that has been in the marketplace for 20 years. In addition to subsidies, the Biden administration is also using regulatory agencies to force automakers to get in line. New, significantly tighter emissions regulations on cars and light trucks were announced by the EPA in April, with the goal of mandating that up to 67% of new vehicles sold would have to be electric by 2032 in order for car makers to be in compliance. So get ready, folks. Cars are going to be increasing in prices. This is how they force people to doing things. This is the kind of stuff I do not like. If I want an electric car, I will get one. But sitting there telling automakers to tell manufacturers they're mandated that up to 67% of new vehicles sold would have to be electric by 2032, or they're not in compliance, what kind of country is this? This is what I'm talking about, man. Like, I say this all the time. You cannot force innovation. I don't mind about caring for our environment. I think everybody kind of cares for our environment. Well, here in the United States, I don't know about China. That's the sad thing about this. None of these other countries are on board. China, India, South Africa, they don't care. China's building a new coal plant once a week. They're lighting it up. They don't care. So it's us having to make all the sacrifices. And for what? This is just another bad idea by a wasteful, bloated, inefficient, and ineffective government. That is exactly what this is. And we're paying top dollar for it. You know, they talk about all these shovel-ready jobs. I still haven't seen the shovel-ready jobs Obama was talking about. Where are those at? You guys remember that? Creating millions of shovel-ready jobs? This is the same thing. You're paying $7 million to create one $50,000 a year green job. Does that even make sense? I mean, we are spending billions and billions of dollars into this climate change initiative. And nobody even knows what they're doing. Do you know what we could do with the money we are putting into this climate change stuff? I did an episode about this not long ago. I mean, this is such a bad idea on so many levels when it comes to the non-renewables that they're mining from the Congo, the cobalt that they're using child slave labor to retrieve, to mine. That's just one aspect of the environmental damage that is being caused from just mining all the materials and raw materials and resources to make these lithium batteries and these electric vehicles is breathtaking. It is massive amounts. Okay, and that is just for batteries. Not to mention the solar panels that can't be recycled. And just like in the past where I read a story, California, all the people that got solar panels, because you know how everything rushes through California before it hits the rest of the country. So that's why California is a giant hole right now, is because they do all the bad ideas first and then we just follow behind. So they had a solar panel rush back 20, 30 years ago. Well, now all those solar panels are needing replaced. And so what are people doing? They can't be recycled, so they're taking them to the landfill. And guess what happens? All those chemicals, all the silica dust, and all that nasty stuff that goes into the solar panels is leaking into the water table and poisoning the water. Yep. And so it's like, and this is just, I can go on for hours about this. The EPA, are we not done listening to experts that are wrong all the time? Was COVID not a perfect example why you do not rely on experts to give you all your information and rely strictly on those experts? The EPA is awful. We don't even know who's running these things. It's the bureaucracy. These people aren't voted in. They're selected. They're bureaucrats. They're nominated into those positions by doing favors, by buying artwork from Hunter Biden. That's what they do. That's how this stuff operates. So these people aren't elected. And so they get in there and they have all these radical ideas, like changing the entire military fleet to all electric vehicles in 20 years. Do you know how much damage that is going to do to our economy? Do you know how much damage that's going to do to the environment to produce all those batteries and all those electric vehicles? It is mind-blowing. And I did an episode strictly on just this, just on the environmental damage alone. That creating all this green energy stuff is astronomical between the solar panels, the windmills, and the lithium batteries. And none of these things can be recycled. The lithium batteries can, but you get almost nothing after you recycle a battery. And the cost of it is astronomical. It's huge. The cost of it is not even worth it, so people don't do it. Same thing with the solar panels. It's like they refuse to see their unintended consequences from their bad ideas. So, and just like any other government program or institution, instead of stopping the program after noticing it's a bad idea, they just throw more money at it. Like the school, like the education system. The moment the Department of Education got involved into the schools have been going downhill. And instead of them actually fixing the problem or actually making big changes that would actually work, they just throw more money at it. That's it. We just need to spend more money at it, even though they keep doing it every single year and nothing gets better. It just gets worse and worse and worse. You see this everywhere. Trust me, I know how it works. They just throw money at it. This is why having government programs that can't fail is such a bad idea. So is anybody at any point in time ever going to come out and say that the vaccine mandates were a bad idea? Or how about the mask mandates? Has anyone ever came out and apologized for giving us bad information? Has anyone ever came out? Any of these experts that force these mandates on the people or force these masks on the people, to have any of them come out and apologized? Hell, have any of them come out and said they were wrong? No. This is the problem. There's no accountability for anybody. And so they do these bad ideas like this, forcing car manufacturers to produce electric vehicles by 2032. So in what, 10 years, 67% of their vehicles are going to have to be electric. You know what kind of damages that's going to do? I can't even think of it, but it's going to cause a lot of damage. Okay, so in 15 years, after it's a complete failure and has caused massive damage to this country, is any of these experts that are pushing this in the EPA going to come out and say, yeah, that was a bad idea, we need to reverse course? No. This is why I hate the fact that government gets involved in everything. And we, the American taxpayers, have to flip the bill. So we have to pay for these people to inject their bad ideas onto us. So we're paying for our own destruction, essentially. Just like we're paying for the destruction of our own democracy. It's incredible with Jack Smith. It's like they have all these bad ideas and they do all this damage with our money, and nobody's ever held accountable when it's a bad idea. I can't think of one good idea that the government... Name one freaking good idea that the government has come out with. Name one good government institution that runs effectively, efficiently, like a well fine-tuned machine. None. You can't find one. And there's 1,500 programs in the mandatory spending. Every single time they pass a spending bill, there's 1,500 government programs that are mandatory, that don't get looked at, they don't even get browsed at to see if maybe these programs are failures. None. Just throw more money at it every single time. More money, more money, more money. And not one of them has been canceled. Not one. This is the problem I have. And this is a constant revolving door. This is a perpetual thing. This goes on forever until we stop it, until we change it. And the only way we're going to change it is by voting these people out of office. We need somebody in there that is going to clean this crap up. That is it. We have to get someone in there that fires these bureaucrats, that fires all these corrupt agencies, that takes a look at all these government programs that are just skimmed money off the taxpayers, find where all this waste is going. We need somebody in there to do that. And we just don't have it. Joe Biden's just not it, folks. I'm sorry. He's just not it. And the only two people I can think of off the top of my head is Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. That is it. And increasingly, obviously, based off the polls, Donald Trump, which isn't surprising. I told pretty much everybody that. But I still like Ron DeSantis, and I still think they're going to be running on the same ticket. Yes, I'm still making that prediction, which I probably will regret. But you heard it here first, folks. I think Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis are going to run on the same ticket. Ron DeSantis' campaign I think it's finished. Apparently he's running out of money. They went through way too much money too fast, and they're just petering out. It's dying out. It's a dud. So, of course, all the rhino Republicans and the establishment Republicans, the Club for Growth, the Bush and Romneys are coming out in force, trying to convince people to donate to Ron DeSantis so that they have a say-so on how he runs this country. That's what they're trying to do. If Ron DeSantis, by some miracle, wins, it's not going to be anything like we think it is. He's going to be controlled by the Romneys. He's going to be controlled by the Bushes. He's going to be controlled by all the mega donors. It's going to be business as usual. It's going to be, hey, welcome to the club. Now just don't look over there. Don't look over there. Just hang out right here. We'll play some racquetball. Enjoy your time here. We'll take care of everything you need. That's not what we need, folks. We need somebody that wants to go in there and start tearing some shit up. We need somebody to go in there with a sledgehammer and start knocking some walls down. That's what we need. And to me, that's Donald Trump. He's got one term left. He doesn't have to worry about running for re-election, and he knows exactly what needs to be done. And I'm sorry. I just feel like somebody going in there and shaking shit up and getting rid of all this corruption is going to help the American people. It will. I promise you. We cannot, the situation we're in now, the status of our country right now is unsustainable. We cannot sustain this type of government anymore. Our politicians are completely corrupt. Our government is completely corrupt. Our government institutions are corrupt. We have two-tier justice system. We have 3 classes in this country. We have the poor class, the middle class, and the rich class. And that gap is getting bigger and bigger every single day. You have the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer, and the middle class is just getting squeezed to death. The middle class is just getting squeezed out of existence. And so what we're experiencing right now is unsustainable. We need somebody in there that's going to fix it. And I like Vivek. I like Vivek Ramaswamy. I like Ramaswamy too. He's great, man. He can talk, dude. That guy, man, he might be the best speaker I've ever seen in my life. That guy can speak like I've never seen. I mean, he's got it, man. I could see him as VP too. Absolutely. I still think it's going to be Ron DeSantis. I think the smart thing for the Trump campaign to do is to bring Ron DeSantis and all his voters on board. A Ron DeSantis Donald Trump ticket will decimate all. I don't care who it is. Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama, a DeSantis Trump ticket will decimate all. Doesn't matter. And that's why I think I think they're still going to run on the same ticket. But I could be wrong. Most likely I am. That's why I don't like making predictions like that. But we'll see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I was going to talk about the illegal, the southern border and the marine border that was put in by Abbott. But we're gonna put that on the next show. So that's all I got for today. If you guys have any questions about the show, get a hold of me at StephenTaurielloShow@gmail.com. If you guys want to get a hold of me, ask me any questions. I will put the research materials in my podcast description, like always, and that way you guys can have something to reference to. And yeah, I'm going to be working on a show right after this. You guys tell me what you think about the show. Let me know what you think. If there's some stories you want me to look into, send them over to me. If there's certain things that you like, just let me know if you like the show. I like getting some input from people that are listening. Because sometimes in, creating content like this, creating a podcast, you kind of get tunnel vision. So there is I have goals and I have a underlying message that I want to send. And sometimes I can get too focused on that and kind of miss out on on other opportunities. So if you guys think I'm missing something, or you want me to start adding stuff to the show, like maybe different segments, like maybe go back to some past stuff that we can touch base on, or you guys think of some cool segments I can do during the show, you guys have got some ideas, shoot them over to me. I'll look at them, absolutely, and I'll work on them. So this show is, most importantly, it's for you. It's not for me. It's for you. So I want you guys to enjoy the show, and most of all, I want you to be informed. So if there's something that you think the listeners overall should know, then send that article over to me, send that information over to me, and I'll look at it. And you could find the show on all the podcast platforms, so make sure you tell your friends and family that it really helps the show if they follow and share the show as well. I mean, it just helps reach new listeners. It helps reach new it beats the algorithm when you share and follow the show. So by all means, please share and follow the show with your friends and family. And also it gets them informed. The more people we get informed, the better. We got 15 months to an election, ladies and gentlemen, 15 months. And that's not a lot of time. We got a lot of work to do. And that is exactly what I'm trying to do. So again, if you got any ideas, you got any tips for me, send them over to me. And please, it would really help if you shared the show with your friends and family. I would really appreciate that. So as always, thank you guys for tuning in. I want you guys to have a good day. Have a great week. God bless you, and God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.